Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of DailyIoT. Today, we're going to be talking about piggybacking a little bit from what I talked about last episode. I sort of was feeling that rant last time about getting people started in Internet of Things, and I feel like what I want the show to be is a lot of practical advice, maybe how-tos and things like that to help you along in your journey in Internet of Things. I mean, that's my entire goal and purpose. And so on today's episode, what I want to do is I talked about how it's such a great time to be involved in Internet of Things and how there's so many opportunities and how all of this stuff is open source right now. I mean, not all of it, but a huge portion of it is open source, in that you can jump in and get involved, look at source code, modify source code, and see how all this stuff works. And it's a really great opportunity. And so what I want to do today on the episode is show you just how you could get started. I know there's a lot of you out there that are probably very comfortable coding and have used GitHub and Git and know how to pull a repository down, make changes, do commits, branches, merges, rebases, all things like that. But to other of you out there, that is, I just said a bunch of gibberish. You have no idea what I just said. And there's this concept of contributing to all of these open source projects. And so what I want to do today is show you that how, even without any coding experience, you can get started contributing or giving back to the Internet of Things community. And what I want to do to show that is just, I talked about a couple episodes ago how I'm reviewing this, Nextion display, and I posted a Hackster post. I will link it up below on how I made a little project, Fridgeye project with the Nextion display. But as I was making that, I was looking for documentation. The documentation for this thing is not very good, just as a heads up. And so I ended up in their GitHub repository for the actual source code for samples and documentation for the display. And, to put it nicely, this is really kind of a Chinese to English translation. It's very obvious. It's not as bad as some of them are, but you can tell that English is not the native tongue of whoever created the repository. And so what I want to show you is how looking at their GitHub repository, just on their basic README, which is the README is the entry point for somebody's code on GitHub. It's here's why this project exists, and here's how you can get started using it. To me, it's crucial. If you have a really great README, it really helps people get started. If you have a bad README, it really turns people off. People will turn away and look for something else. And so in the interest of helping out, and like I said, contributing back to the community, I want to come in here and show you how, without even knowing how to code or use Git or anything like that, you can start contributing today back to some of this open source code on GitHub. And so let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so here we are on the main front page. It's this Itead Arduino Nextion library that I'm looking at. And if you scroll down, by default, this readme.md file, MD stands for Markdown, will display down here. It's sort of formatted. It's a text. It's a way to write in text that gets marked up and formatted on the site here. And if you'll notice, just reading the first sentence here, Nextion Arduino library provides an easy-to-use way to manipulate Nextion serial displays. So far, so good. Users can use the library, we've got a misspelled word here, freely, either in commercial projects or open source projects without any additional conditions is misspelled. And if you come through here, there's lots of grammar. Let's see, technical documents is a problem there. If we come down here, like supported has 3 P's in it. And so this is something where, looking at it, those aren't huge deals, right? I think if you read it, you can get the idea. But to help have a more polished look and feel, it would be nice to fix some of these things. And what we can do right off, like I said, there's ways to do this that some of you are familiar with cloning a repository and things like that. Let's skip all that. Let's keep it super simple. All you need to do is sign up for GitHub, have an account, come to the repo that you want to contribute to. In this case, I'm signed in as me. You can see my little picture up there, handsome guy. And I'm on their library. And all I'm going to do is come down here to the file I want to change, which is this readme.md, and it will again format it and show you the marked up version. And all I'm going to do is come up here to this little pencil and say fork this project and edit the file. Now fork is a term in Git that says I want to take this entire project, copy it, and have my own version so I can play around with it, maybe change things, add things, and then give it back to you as the owner to say, hey, would you like to incorporate this into your repository? And so I'm going to click on that. And it says you're editing a file in a project you don't have write access to. We've created a fork of this project for you to commit your proposed changes to. Submitting a change to this file will write it to a new branch in your fork so you can send a pull request. And what a pull request is once I'm done making these changes, it will create what's called a commit, which is just my set of changes to this file. And then I can submit this as a pull request back to their repository that says, here's the file I changed, here are all of the changes, would you like to accept them? And so I can come right in here and I can start making changes right here. Here was that misspelled conditions. I'm gonna just fix that here. Conditions, library was misspelled here, so we'll fix that. And so I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me make all these changes. I'm going to go through once, give it a quick look over, and change anything I find, correct spelling, misspellings, maybe fix some grammar issues. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how we wrap this up. Okay, now that I've finished my changes, I've made them all up here above. I get down to the bottom and it says propose file change. I'm going to say update readme. And then down here, I'll just say fix some typos and grammatical errors. And then all I have to do is click on propose file change. And what that's going to do is compare what I've done to the master branch of their library. That's this up here. Now, don't get too hung up on, what's a branch and why are we comparing them. Just know that right down here, it's showing the things that I changed, the lines I changed. You see I corrected library and conditions and some other things that are ready to go. If everything looks good, you can see I have this create pull request button. And what I can do is I'm just going to go ahead and click that. It's going to fill this in with my proposed change, which was updating the README and fix some typos and grammatical errors. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit create pull request. And that's it. In their library now, on their pull request tab, you'll see I'm pull request number 26. It's open and it's ready for somebody to review. And that's it. That's all there is to it to get started with contributing back to an open source project. Now, before I get angry comments, you don't want to be the grammar police of open source projects on GitHub. So, you're not going to make a ton of friends by going into every single repository and correcting a misspelled word here and there. But there's lots of cases where the documentation could really use a boost. So you're not just correcting grammatical things, but you might be saying, hey, I got started and this was a little confusing. I'd like to go in and maybe add some steps that would make getting started a little easier. Things like that. These are all things that you can do without having any coding experience or feeling comfortable contributing to the code portion of a repository. So it's just a very simple way to get started, and I highly encourage it. It can be scary the first time. You don't know if somebody's going to accept your pull request or be offended, but I really challenge you to put yourself out there and hop in and contribute. It's super rewarding when that first pull request goes through and somebody accepts it, and you have your names on the repository now as somebody who has contributed to that project. And so I think it's a simple way to get started. And so my challenge for you today on the episode is to find one of your favorite projects, go out and take a look at it on GitHub. Most of these things are on GitHub, and see if there's a way that you can contribute, whether it's helping add some more documentation, or if you're comfortable with code, maybe you can help with that, something that, fix a bug or something like that. So that's my challenge to you. It's really easy to get started. That segues into the word of the day, which today is going to be noob. You'll hear this a lot in programming and in the Internet of Things maker community, that guy's a noob, that girl's a noob. And all it really stands for is a newbie, a new person, a beginner. And historically, there's been sort of a negative connotation to that. It's been used to, poke fun or jab fun at people and be like, that guy's a noob, he doesn't know what's going on. But it's had sort of a softer meaning in recent years of that person's new, let's help them out. Let's invite them into the community and get them started. And that's my second challenge to you, which is if you know more than somebody else, or if you're an expert in your area and a noob comes in and has what may seem like a dumb question, don't just assume that they're trying to finish a college homework assignment and that's the only reason they're asking this question. Because I see that a lot. People are like, oh, you're just trying to finish an assignment. Go figure it out. Let's not assume that everybody's trying to cheat on their homework when they ask a question. And let's be welcoming. Let's welcome people into the community. Say, hey, I'm here. I want to help you out. And I think that's a great way to get more people involved, just having that helping mindset. And so that's the word of the day. I appreciate everybody watching. I hope that you found this a little bit helpful. Like I said, there's probably a lot of you that know this, and this is sort of elementary, but there's others that I feel like this could be helpful and could be a good sort of encouragement, inspiration to get out there, get your feet wet, and get started contributing to the community. So again, I appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't subscribed, I'm going to put the button down below. Please do. I really appreciate those subscriptions. Otherwise, thanks for watching Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning all about the Internet of Things, one day at a time.